You know, it's nice to get a win every now and again, even when that win has you re-earning stuff that you already got. What's going on, Guardians? My name is The Black Link, and we're coming back at you today to talk a bit about some news that dropped for Destiny 2 in this week's issue of the Bungie Weekly Blog, This Week at Bungie. We got some really interesting news about what's going to be happening with the loot system in Season 13. We also got some crazy changes to ritual vendors like Lord Shaxx and whatnot. They're basically going to be getting their own kind of season pass. They're changing the way the reputation system works, like completely revamping the way reputation works at those vendors, that you're earning a set amount of rewards every time you reset your Valor rank or your Gambit rank, whatever that's called, or do stuff in strikes and whatnot. It's actually really, really cool. But in particular, this week's TWAB talks about one thing that really hits home one of the biggest problems we've had in Destiny in general for a while, but especially with Destiny 2 Beyond Light, and that is the criminally low amount of loot that you are shooting for in this looter-based game. Sunsetting has been a major issue since before Beyond Light, where Bungie basically arbitrarily makes a lot of the gear that you have earned over the last couple of years, plus a lot of the gear that you are currently earning, useless. There's gear that you can earn in the game right now that was gonna be sunset next season. That didn't make sense. We talked a bit about this before. There's gear that you're earning for missions and whatnot that you are currently being sent on in current age content in the Moon and the Dreaming City that is already sunset. Stuff that doesn't have any use in even normal gameplay now because the maximum light is 1050. I'm talking Dreaming City weapons, some of the Moon gear and weapons, and that really doesn't make any sort of sense. Well, thankfully, Bungie seems to have seen the light when it comes to this, at least partially, because we're going to be getting a lot of that stuff back. Let's go ahead and dive on into what exactly they said here. Now, we're going to be going straight to the TWAB for this. We did cover the entire thing. I've got it over on the Planet Destiny channel, so if you want to see everything they talked about, I'll have a link to that video in the description box below. But in this video, we're just going to be focusing on the gear. Here's what's going to be happening starting in Season 13 in just a month. They're going to be reissuing Dreaming City, Reverie Dawn, and Moon Dreambane armor. These are going to also drop with high stats when earned in the Shattered Throne or Pit of Heresy dungeons. And as a part of these changes, the final chest in the Pit of Heresy is no longer going to drop a fully masterwork Dreambane armor piece. Instead, the Dreambane armor piece that drops will have 7 armor energy and is guaranteed to drop with at least plus 16 in 2 different stats and higher stats overall. And just to make sure you don't get anything useless from that final chest, Dreambane class items will not drop from that final chest. So really quickly, good stuff there. Very happy that both the Reverie Dawn and Dreambane Moon armor are coming back. Like I said before, especially when it comes to the Moon, the Dreambane armor. We earned that like just a year ago. Why in the world was that sunset when Beyond Light came out? It was very, very strange to me. So I'm happy that that's coming back. Really psyched to hear that they are basically bringing back into relevance the dungeons, Shattered Throne, and Pit of Heresy. Those activities are still accessible in the game, but you have no incentive to run them right now. Well, the only incentive to run Pit of Heresy was because you got that fully masterwork gear at the end. So I love what they're doing here. I love that when it comes to Pit of Heresy, you're going to be getting those guaranteed high stat rolls from the final chest. Although personally, I would argue that they probably should have left it fully masterworked rather than being at 7 armor. That's probably the only complaint I have about that, but otherwise this is great. I love what they're doing with the dungeons here. Let's move on, because we've got some weapons to talk about too. They've reissued 4 weapons for the Dreaming City, and here's the kicker, with new perk pools. Waking Vigil, Sleepless, Vouchsafe, and Retold Tale, one of my old favorite shotguns. Dreaming City weapons that drop in the Shattered Throne dungeon can also roll with perks that are unavailable from drops from other reward sources. And then it's basically the same sort of story for 4 of the Moon weapons. Premonition, which is going to be a Pit of Heresy exclusive drop, Heretic, Blasphemer, and Apostate. These weapons are being brought back to current age power, and if you get those drops in Pit of Heresy, they can roll with new perks that are unavailable from any other source. This is fantastic news. Again, they're making those old dungeons, which were in-game content, relevant again. You didn't have any real reason to run Shattered Throne before now. despite the fact that it's one of the best bits of content in this game. Same thing for Pit of Heresy. Really happy Bungie's moving forward to bringing that content back into the fore, giving you a reason to run it, whether it's armor or weapons now. And I love that they're bringing these weapons back with a new perk pool that you can only get from those dungeons. Again, it's further incentive to play these activities that are still in the game right now. This is what Bungie needs to do for a lot of other things. They're definitely on the right track with this. This is very good news. Now, I will say that it is kind of odd that they are reissuing these same weapons. Of course, there's going to be the notion that we are regrinding the same weapons we were grinding for last year and the same weapons we were grinding for a few years ago in Forsaken. And that's always going to sit kind of sour in the mouth of some players. I think ultimately this is a good thing. I think this is giving players more things to actually grind for. It's personally giving me more reasons to run Shattered Throne and Pit of Heresy. I haven't run Pit of Heresy I think since I completed it on all 3 characters over a year ago. I haven't even thought about running that dungeon. And it's a fun dungeon, but I didn't really have much reason to do it. I had Masterwork gear, didn't really need to go through all of that just to get more of it. So I'm very happy that there's incentive to run this content now. But I do believe that this is kind of further admittance that Bungie's idea of sunsetting weapons, and curiously enough, sunsetting armor, was heavily mistaken, or at least not implemented very well at all. Between this action that's going to be starting next season, next month, and the actions Bungie took a couple months ago, where they revamped the world loot pool to bring back a bunch of weapons that they had just sunset, because the loot pool was cut down to such a small degree, I think Bungie is starting to realize that their attempts at moving us off of old gear and onto new gear, I don't really think they're approaching that the right way. And as we move forward with Beyond Light, I do believe, especially for maybe the rest of this year, we are going to see more examples of this, of Bungie kind of bringing back stuff we've previously earned, whether it's stuff from D2, previous expansions, base game, or even some stuff from D1 and reissuing it into the game. I do believe it's kind of a tacit agreement that they might have gone a little bit overboard with the whole sunsetting thing. And really, it's funny to me because it's kind of the exact same story we had way back in the day with the Taken King, where they first started sunsetting gear. And we seem to be riding that same roller coaster all over again. But at the end of the day, adding more loot to this looter shooter is always a good idea, and I'm very happy to see some of my favorite weapons coming back. I'm very happy that some of them are going to be getting new perks. That, in my opinion, makes them worth re-grinding. If Bungie had just reissued these things and not changed anything about them, I'd probably be a bit more upset. But now that we know we're going to be getting new perks available on them, which might be just, Beyond Light perks and whatnot, maybe some of the perks you can get on some of the Europa weapons are going to be available to them, but that you can get those weapons with those new perks by playing a specific activity. That's what I want to see moving forward. Give me a reason to run some of this content, Bungie. I promise you, if you give players a reason to play, they will happily flock back to the game. But anyways, Guardians, I just wanted to cover that quick bit of news from this week's TWAB about these reissued weapons and armor from Forsaken and Shadowkeep returning to the game next season in Season 13. It's less than a month away now. But those are my thoughts. What are yours? Be sure to leave me them down in the comment section below. How do you feel about this reissued stuff? Are you happy to see more weapons and armor coming to the game? Be sure to let me know. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like, make sure you subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest stuff we're putting out. But for now, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I am Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty. Have yourself a wonderful weekend.